Guide Live Daily News. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. Today we're going over a prehistoric discovery as well as three current animal occurrences going on around the world. I believe one having to do with blue whales, another certain foxes over in Southeast Asia. Well, bats specifically. They're also known as flying foxes, and a rescued deer. So we are streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. Let's see. We seem to have possibly some discovery going on with a large species of pterosaur somewhere in the world. This almost seems like a scenario that would occur over in the Hatzeg Basin of Central Europe, over and adjacent to Hungary. Let's take a look. So, new pterosaur species discovered in Japan. Wow. Okay, this is really good to see. Paleontologists have announced the discovery of a new species of Quetzalcoatl asdarchid pterosaur, Nipponopterus myfunensis, from the late Cretaceous of Japan. So the asdarchids were the largest group in terms of size of pterosaurs to exist during the Mesozoic era, or the time of the dinosaurs. They first existed somewhere around, first evolved about 140 million years ago during the first 5 million years of the Cretaceous period, and would cling on until the very end of the Cretaceous around 66 million years ago. And these animals, despite not weighing much more than 5 to 700 pounds, or between like 250 to 330 kilograms, they were quite robust. And many of these animals did coexist with the larger species of carnivores in different ecosystems throughout the Cretaceous period. But the larger sizes wouldn't really appear until the last 20 million years of the Cretaceous. Not that there weren't certain larger pterosaurs reaching a wingspan of 25 to 30 feet, or pushing around 8 to 9 meters, like back before 100 million years ago. So pterosaurs were highly successful flying reptiles, not dinosaurs as they're commonly mislabeled. They are some of the closest relatives to dinosaurs, and they did derive from the Archosaur lineage. That lived between 210 and 65 million years ago. Pterosaurs, it is quite interesting with their evolution. They did appear a little later in evolution compared to some of the earliest species of dinosaurs. He's back in the Triassic. Possibly though, they did exist slightly earlier than 210 million years ago. So they were Earth's first flying vertebrates. There were certain gliding reptiles that had occurred earlier in time, but in terms of true flight, this is true, with birds and bats making their appearances much later. Um, Birds first evolved somewhere around 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic period. Bats wouldn't evolve until somewhere around 60 to 65 million years ago, so during the Paleocene epoch, or the beginning of the Cenozoic era. Some pterosaurs, such as the giant asdarchids, were the largest flying animals of all time, with wingspans exceeding 9 meters or 30 feet. There were also certain members of the pteranodonted lineage of pterosaurs, such as um, not necessarily pteranodon, but close relatives that could reach this wingspan, but they didn't weigh anywhere as much as the asdarchids because their bones were less dense and standing heights comparable to modern giraffes. This is true for the larger asdarchids. So pterosaurs, the earliest vertebrate group to achieve powered flight, have left a fossil record spanning from the late Triassic to the Cretaceous/Paleogene boundary, also known as the KT boundary. So this is around 66 million years ago, showcasing remarkable morphological diversity, said Myfune Dinosaur Museum's Dr. Naoki Akigami, Sao Paulo University's Dr. Rodrigo Pegas, and their colleagues. The fragile nature of pterosaur skeletons, due to their pneumatic and thin walled bones, renders their fossil record particularly patchy and skewed. Most well preserved and relatively complete remains are restricted to a few Lagerstätten around the world. In contrast, most other pterosaur yielding deposits typically produce fragmentary specimens. Well, this is also the case. Actually, let's look up a picture. Let's put Quetzalcoatlus and T Rex, but I'll spell them out. Queztoatlus. It should come up. Oh, well, I was going to say with T Rex. Um, or well, I mean, there's probably going to be different pictures of just himself, but it's just
There's
that.
no T-Rex in these pictures.
Well, it's probably because we didn't include him, but
Oh, wait a
that's
minute. Huh.
well. The thing is that there. Oh, well, this is actually a good picture. We so far it doesn't look like we have any confirmed Quetzalcoatlus skeletons or specimens in the same fossil formations as T Rex has been found in, but there have been different fragmentary large pterosaur bones that have been discovered over in the Hell Creek Formation of Montana, which is where T Rex has been discovered as well. And as you also have Triceratops and Montosaurus has been discovered there. When it comes to Quetzalcoatlus, it was discovered back in 1971 by paleontologist Douglas Lawson over in the Javelina Formation of the Big Bend National Park over in West Texas. There is also another specific fossil formation over in West Texas in which Quetzalcoatlus has been discovered, and supposedly over in some area of Mexico. But it is very likely that Quetzalcoatlus coexisted with T Rex back in the late Cretaceous period. This is definitely the tallest, at least when it comes to specifically Quetzalcoatlus nothropi, is the tallest pterosaur that we have discovered, as well as having the longest wingspan, pushing somewhere between 36 to 43 feet in length.
Is this the same one that's in HMNS?
Yes, or somewhere around 11 to 13 meters, and probably pushing around 18 feet in height or around 5.3 meters. So, though the animal probably weighed somewhere around 400 to 500 pounds, or somewhere around 180 to 230 kilograms, but still quite robust. And it did not need help from the wind, unlike what certain theories were back in the 1800s as well as early 1900s, is that every species of pterosaur except Quetzalcoatlus had not been discovered yet, as well as a wide variety of different species of Asdarchids, pterosaurs in general. Um, but it was theorized that they needed the wind to help lift them off into the air in order to gain flight momentum. But Quetzalcoatlus had the ability to efficiently push itself or propel itself into the air. Also, it did not live off of the edges of cliffs, simply too big. But it also hasn't been found in certain areas that would indicate that it lived off of just simply a sea cliff shore. It seems to have inhabited different massive flat open areas or certain open woodlands, even swamps in the late Cretaceous of Texas. And it probably seems to be even Montana itself. But at least what's another thing? There was another species of Asdarchid pterosaur closely related to Quetzalcoatlus. I want to go back to that. Just go back to the other picture with. There we go, T Rex. Um, there was another species found over in 1995, specifically the Croacodon, but it wasn't until in recent years that the genus was named, but it was described somewhat by paleontologist Philip Curry over in the Dinosaur Park Formation of Alberta, Canada. And it seems to be one of the closest relatives to Quetzalcoatlus nothropi. But it does seem to be that, this animal, as well as the Central European individual, Hatzegopteryx, or the Central European species, existed around the same time, if not maybe slightly earlier than Quetzalcoatlus over in Central Europe. But, at least this Japanese pterosaur that they have discovered, at least by the painting, seems to have a more of a Quetzalcoatlus sort of physique compared to Hatzegopteryx, mainly because Quetzalcoatlus has a very thin and narrow pointed sort of. um, or just at least a narrow positioned beak. And it also has a much thinner sort of a neck compared to Hatzegopteryx, which was much more muscular and had a much wider beak. Another thing when it comes to Quetzalcoatlus is it has an enormous breastplate or an enormous, or I guess, breastbone, also known as the sternum, which would have helped or connected all of these different muscles that would have associated with the powered flight. And they were also very likely capable of running to an extent on land. But it's very,
That what is that?
I can't tell if that's an AI picture or it's somebody's own just goofy pterosaur, but this is not any species. There wasn't a single species of pterosaur with this type of a reconstruction. It's like somebody combined a Jurassic Ramphorhynchid with um, some larger species at the end of the late Jurassic. It had like an 11-foot wingspan, relatively recently discovered, and with some Cretaceous species. Yeah, this is a bit of an older model, at least like probably early 2010s of a Quetzalcoatlus. It still seems a bit off-centered, though the forelimbs were longer compared to the hind limbs, much like with what we see in certain species of sauropod dinosaurs such as Brachiosaurus, but in some instances maybe to a slightly greater extent.
Sarah Rogers says you're her favorite YouTuber. I assume it's a her.
I appreciate that. Now, when it comes to the tail size of Quetzalcoatlus, this animal, this refers to most species of Cretaceous pterosaurs. They had fairly small tails compared to their body size, and it's also a big question as to what they would have been used for. Or simply, what was their purpose? Considering pterosaurs back in the Jurassic periods as well as the Triassic periods had very long tails compared to their body size, and they also ended in very different shaped, um, there's a specific term for it, but it's not hitting me. When you look at the Ramphorhynchid pterosaurs, they tend to end somewhat diamond-shaped sort of a look. Okay, let's head back to the, article. So the fragile nature of pterosaur skeletons due to their, oh, I already said that. Okay, so as an example of this, the Japanese pterosaur record is extremely scarce. Oh yeah, there are very few, if any, pterosaur specimens that come from Japan. And I would say even dinosaurs aren't necessarily common in the country, but they do occur. We have found different species of smaller ceratopsians existed over in Japan, certain species of medium-sized hadrosaurs, fragmentary remains of certain a mysterious tyrannosaur species that have existed over in the country as well during the late Cretaceous, and certain smaller species of sauropods. What I mean by small is at least pushing around 8 to 11 tons. But for sauropods, that's not large. So the first specimen found in Japan derives from the Yizo. Let's see. I almost said what's that mafia over there? Kisma.
The Yakuza.
Yeah, from the Yizo group in Hokkaido and represents an indeterminate pteranodonted comprising. Whoa! Oh, okay, interesting.
So they don't know what it is.
Comprising a partial femur, metatarsal, pedal phalanx, and caudal vertebra. So here are the bones.
Those are drawings.
Yeah. The six cervical vertebra of Nyponopterus myfunensis. The newly identified species was a member of Quetzalcoatlinae, a subfamily of the pterosaur family as Darkidae. As darkids represent a very particular pterosaur clade, especially notorious for including the largest flying organisms ever, such as the 10 to 11 meter or 33 to 36 foot wingspan of Quetzalcoatlus northropinae, the Arembergianae philadelphinae, and Hatzegopteryx thembemi. Ember Embergernii. Wonder if he was specifically found in Pennsylvania or it's a specific fossil formation with Philadelphia in it, considering It's in his species name. The clade, as Darkadai, is most remarkably characterized by their elongated cervical vertebrae, so referring to the neck vertebrae, with reduced neural spines, and are found extensively across pterosaur communities from the Turonian to the Maastrichtian age worldwide. So basically, from the beginning of the late Cretaceous um, to the end of the late Cretaceous, but you could even say the early Cretaceous as well. They're just not very common in the early Cretaceous. They represent the most diverse and widespread group of pterosaurs during the late Cretaceous. That is quite true. There were still a wide variety of other different families of pterosaurs in which animals like the more famous Pteranodon belong to. Named Nipponopterus myfuensis, the new species lived in what is now Japan around 90 million years ago. Oh, this is a much older species of Asdarkid. I was assuming this was like around 67 to 71 million years ago. This was existing somewhere around 22 million years before Quetzalcoatlus. So that's quite astounding. Nipponopterus myfunensis represents the first nominal species of pterosaur from Japan. Well, I mean, that's um, quite relieving. This new species shows numerous Quetzalcoatline features, being strikingly similar to the unnamed Berkant as Darkid from the Turonian and Konyakian of Mongolia. So, this specific age in the Cretaceous. You had it where 90 million years ago, some of the largest species of Cygnathid. Wait a second, I'm trying to make sure I'm not confusing that with another lineage of Archosaur. Basically, you had some of the largest oviraptors existing over Mongolia at this point, as well as northern China, such as Gigantoraptor. It's a bit of a debate as to what specifically it was feeding on, but it seems to be it was probably just an herbivore for the most parts, possibly scavenging now and then. A partial sixth cervical vertebra of Nipponopterus myfunensis came from outcrops of the Myfun group near the Amagami Dam, Myfun Town, Kumamoto Prefecture, on the Japanese island of Kyushu. Okay, let's look up Gigantoraptor, which did not exist in Japan. It was specifically over in different, more lush regions of Mongolia. So Gigantoraptor. Okay. I'm trying to. Okay, so this was somewhere around 88 to 90 million years ago over in Mongolia. That's interesting. I haven't seen a depiction for. Oh, this is Ark Survival Ascended. Okay.
Oh, I didn't even look. I just
I mean, it's fine. They gave it a more of like a cassowary like crest or almost head horn to an extent,
listed.
which is interesting. Yeah, I guess it's a bit of slightly older depiction. Interesting how the arms are displayed in this image. They're rather delicate in structure. This is almost similar to certain species of Microraptorid dromaeosaurs back earlier in the Cretaceous, around 125 million years ago, over in China. I guess you could say it's also a bit of debate as to what even the arms might have been used for.
Okay,
Um,
here are your favorite pictures.
yeah, this AI guy looks like somebody mixed a giant trima and some larger cygnathid oviraptorid and yeah, blended them. Horrible. Okay, let's go back to that other picture.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so they're reconstructing him with that specific sac. With certain types of dinosaurs, especially with like members of the Coelurosaur group, you could just say theropod group in general, even the sauropods, it's actually been shown in certain depictions of almost every lineage of dinosaur, even the stegosaurs, the ankylosaurs. Okay, ankylosaurs maybe not so much, but there are certain lineages of archosaurs in general. So the group of reptiles in which dinosaurs, pterosaurs, certain marine reptiles, crocodilomorphs derive from that do not possess this specific type of a trait when looking at their cervical vertebrae, and it just wouldn't have
Okay, I
existed.
got
Now,
lost. What are you talking about?
having this sac, like with what you see in different Galapagos
Oh, here?
birds, or even if you're looking at like
You
certain,
you referencing this?
yeah,
Okay.
that giant sac.
Wait, I got one. I have one that looks like it lost its mind.
Oviraptors might have. Yeah, he definitely has. It's definitely an older. Oh, it's supposed to represent a Gigantoraptor.
Yep.
Yeah, there probably was a somewhat more muscle on the animal, but it's still, when looking at the neck, the tail would have been quite thin to an extent, but not necessarily this thin. It almost seems like the animal could not support its neck with this thin of this long and thin of a neck.
Wait, there's
Just
another nut one.
slightly more muscle. It's one thing if it was maybe a much shorter neck, but it's not. Oh, I think it's him, but it's just from the front view. Yeah, these are extremely skinny. But I guess for the time it was, somebody just working on it. It's not bad. But yeah, also lacking on feathers to a major extent too. But yeah, goofy and a bit terrifying too.
Hmm.
But these were likely just herbivores. They might have been feeding on certain types of seeds and nuts, and maybe occasionally munching on certain amphibians or lizards. But we are referring to an animal that was somewhere between 26 to 30 feet in length, or some around 8 to 9 meters, and also reaching a height of around 16 feet, or pushing well over 4.8 meters, and probably weighing around 2 to 3 tons. So it's likely not just feeding on a few amphibians, little amphibians and lizards. Maybe if it has access to like the larger temnospondyl amphibians, except when Gigantoraptor evolved, those temnospondyl amphibians had already been extinct since the beginning of the Cretaceous period. So that was impossible. Maybe it was feeding on certain crocodilomorphs, but that's also quite questionable. Would have been rare too. Okay, let's head back. How did I get to him? Oh, they mentioned Mongolia. So the specimen was found within the middle part of the upper formation of the Myfune group in a coarse lens-shaped sandstone bed, 30 centimeters or 12 inches in thickness, and placed between two tough layers. Wonder what's referencing by tough. Maybe specifically when it comes to like certain regions of the members of the fossil formation. I'll have to double check on that. Okay. Well, let's head forward in time and to another part of the world.
Wait, wait.
What? Oh, right. Gigantoraptor did also coexist with different species of tyrannosaurs, but much smaller compared to T Rex. Um, yeah, Quetzalcoatlus really wasn't a threat to a full-grown T Rex. A baby, yes, but the Tyrannosaurus Gigantoraptor coexisted with were fairly small in comparison to it. Okay, but heading on to some mammals from newsinfo.inquirer.net. 160,000 flying foxes found in Cotabato Forest. That sounds like the Philippines. Well, here are the bats. Well, okay. There are also over in the Philippines around 85 species of native bat to the area. And the world in general hosts around 1,000 different species of bat.
These bats look like leaves.
Yeah, they do. It's almost like certain species over, I think, off of Madagascar or certain islands off the coast of East Africa, as well as even interior Africa in general, especially East Africa. I'm guessing these are some type of a fruit bat, but there's certain larger bats that'll feed on insects too.
But what was that bat that grabs the birds and tears them apart midair?
Yeah, over in I think certain parts of Germany and Switzerland. I don't remember. Some smaller bat species that they're able to put small cameras on. Around 160,000 flying foxes were documented in a forest in Bansilan, Cotabato, following a 2-day population count and roost site assessment last month. The monitoring was conducted by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, 12 Community Environment and Natural Resources Office Midsayap, in partnership with the Municipal Environment and Natural Resources Office, Barangay local government units, and on the job trainees from Notre Dame of Matsayap College. Geez, Philippines, now you've just taken over India for naming pronunciation. The assessment, which was done from April 29th to 30th, focused on flyout counts and evening dispersal patterns at the roost site. It identified 3 species in the area: the critically endangered golden crowned flying fox, the endangered large flying fox, and the island flying fox. Evening dispersal counts showed a rush hour beginning at around 5:30 p.m. and peaking at about 5:50 p.m., when hundreds of bats per second filled the sky until nightfall. I guess this is during that occurrence, like this part of the day when all of the bats are finally leaving the cave and heading towards a certain area to feed on insects, possibly.
That like Austin?
To an extent, Austin, Houston, actually a wide variety of different cities.
Wait, they're in Houston?
There are. They took a bit of a hit during Hurricane Harvey, but they're still there. Under the Wow Bridge. I forgot the name of the bridge over in Austin. Researchers also noted a behavioral shift with bats flying higher above the forest canopy compared with previous low level navigation. Environmental officials described flying foxes as silent reforesters because of their role in seed dispersal and forest regeneration. Authorities stressed the need to protect Satayo calente's habitat, saying the colony was not only stable but actively growing. Earlier this month, several colonies of flying foxes were also spotted in Flora at Paello during a 2-week biodiversity monitoring mission. Well, that's good to see. I mean, they're saying several colonies of this specific. Well, in this instance, it's not saying what specific species. Earlier in the article, it mentioned that at least in one specific area in the forest, there were 3 different species of bat.
Wait, are you is there more than one type of flying fox?
I think it's referred to a certain size bat, and maybe even a certain family. I'm going to have to check on that later too. But I believe when it comes to smaller species of bats, they're not referred to as flying foxes. I think it's a larger species. You can find certain flying foxes over in Australia, certain species in South America, and as well as other regions of Asia.
Hold on. Got it. That's an Australian one.
Yeah, here's one species. I don't recall his species name. It's probably a fruitarian as well, or a frugivore. I believe also certain species munch on fungi as well, like along with their fruit dominated diet.
There's an Indian one.
Oh, yeah, India has them too. 'Cause India is technically South Asia, not Southeast Asia. So this seems to be one that's more of a frugivore. They also, for the most part, tend to coexist in larger colonies, and they're not really solitary species for the most part.
This is Britannica. I don't even know what that is unless it's referring to the
It's just the website. Um, this could be just simply a smaller species of flying fox. I think it's a male too.
their hands are kind of terrifying.
Oh yeah. That's weird. I'm not sure if that's directly his hand or it's his foot. Maybe that's his foot. Okay. I was going to say their hands are completely their fingers are spread out throughout their wing. That's just his okay, it's his hind feet. That makes it's more reassuring. Okay,
We definitely know that's a he.
yeah. Yeah, let's see what else occurred. Oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Well, good to hear. Um, I guess we're a bit confused on the certain species and where specifically in the Philippines. There's also different ecosystems in the country in general. So, let's head over to the next article. So, from Chimer Times KH. Authorities rescue endangered deer in Crate province. Well, he seems a bit out of it. Whatever happened to him originally. Provincial authorities in Crete successfully rescued an endangered male deer after it wandered into a village and became trapped in a wire fence. Seems like some species you'd find over in Cambodia. The Philippines also have three different species of deer. I don't think this is one of them, however. The deer, weighing approximately 40 kilograms or around 90 pounds, came from a wetland and grassland habitat behind a resident's house in Sambuk Commune, Charturbari district on Tuesday. According to the Ministry of Environment, the animal was chased by local dogs, causing it to run onto a national road and into nearby houses before becoming struck in a residential fence. Villagers immediately alerted forest rangers from the Provincial Department of Environment and the World Wildlife Fund, who coordinated with local authorities to rescue the animal. So I'm guessing they're adjacent to a national park, wherever this is occurring. Officials confirmed that the deer sustained minor injuries during the incident, likely caused while attempting to escape.
Why would you have to contact the WWF?
Um,
Or why would you?
I think they're hired by the WWF. Maybe that's a certain number they just have to call. The rescue team later transferred the deer to a wildlife rescue center in Phnom Penh for treatment. Once fully recovered, the animal will be released back into its natural habitat. Well, that's good to hear. I was worried he was going to be stuck there. The deer, it also looks like they put him into a bit of a box. At least by even the angle of the picture. See, so the deer is listed on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List as a highly endangered species. In Cambodia, an estimated population. Oh, okay, we're over in Cambodia. Cambodia is around 6 or 7 different species of deer native to the country. So in Cambodia, an estimated population of around 100 individuals has been recorded in protected areas, particularly in the provinces of Kriti and parts of Koh Kong. That is not good. Only 100. Yeah, he has to be. This must have come from a national park. I guess that's somewhat heavily protected in the area. The Ministry of Environment has been working with different or with development partners on a 2025 to 2035 conservation and restoration action plan to protect endangered wildlife in line with Cambodia's environmental strategy focused on cleanliness, greenness, and sustainability. The ministry spokesman Kive Atiachi said that deers are gentle mammals living in wetlands and grasslands within protected areas in Cambodia. Well, this guy was pretty robust. Hopefully, he. I mean, it looks concerning in the picture. He noted that the recent sighting of deer entering a village is an encouraging sign that the species is still present in Cambodia's forests, despite being among the world's endangered wildlife. Well, the thing is that it sounds like dogs were pushing it out of the area. So it sounds like there are certain feral dogs in the region that need to be taken out. The rediscovery in Kreti provides renewed hope for their survival. And he urged stronger collective efforts to protect wildlife and conserve Cambodia's natural resources. He urged the public not to harm or chase wildlife when animals enter villages and to immediately report sightings to local authorities or conservation teams to ensure safe rescue and relocation. Well, hopefully he gets back to somewhat decent health, then he's released back into the protected area. Let's head over to the final article. So, from nantucketcurrent.com, endangered blue whales spotted south of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. So, when it comes to the Atlantic whale or blue whale population specifically, there are around 3,000 blue whales over in the Atlantic. Now, the overall population of blue whales is still a big guess, and it's been that way for a few years. Certain populations have had recent um, surveys, but somewhere between 15,000 to 25,000 blue whales. So it doesn't really seem to have increased in recent years. It's kind of just stayed stable. Um, Also, there's around 5 different sub or different populations of blue whales around the world. Now, when it comes to at least the blue whales showing up here, they tend to show up around Nova Scotia or Vinland, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and as well as New Jersey. Several blue whales, the largest whale species on Earth, were spotted in southern New England waters last month by a survey team from the New England Aquarium's Anderson Cabot Center for Ocean Life. It marked the first time the aquarium has documented a blue whale in the southern New England survey area. On February 27th, the survey team was flying over the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument when they sighted a blue whale at the base of Lydonia Canyon. I don't know where that specific is. It sounds like, an underwater canyon, I am assuming. Just 24 hours later, on February 28th, the team saw two other blue whales 15 miles south of Martha's Vineyard while conducting an aerial survey over southern New England waters. I think also many people will confuse blue whale in quote, I guess you could say pods with like dolphin pods, which or even orcas or killer whales. They like dolphins, porpoises, killer whales work differently when it comes to socializing compared to the other species of whales. Blue whales, the only time that you see large numbers of them is when they're coming to like different summer feeding grounds to feed, or maybe during some um, breeding season. But it's very brief in that specific case. Aside from that, it tends to be just maybe a mother with her calf, or occasionally you might have it where there's a couple of pairs, like maybe two mothers with calves. But outside of that, um, well, I'm saying outside of the feeding or breeding scenarios, but they tend to be quite solitary. So, this is one of the blue whales spotted by the New England Aquarium Survey Team in late February in southern New England waters. Seems healthy. And no, these aren't pygmy blue whales. These individuals can reach well over 170 tons. Wonder if that's a bull.
I don't see any horns.
Also, when it comes to blue whales and how long they can hold their breath for, it's like many species of whales that tend to hang out in more shallow waters, or at least not necessarily shallow water, but they hang out closer to the surface, not necessarily like sperm whales or even the Cuvier's beaked whale, which can dive much further down and also hold their breath for somewhere between an hour to 2 hours. But, blue whales on average, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. There can be some instances where they stay at the surface for a slightly, longer period, then they might hold their breath for a bit longer, but it tends to be around that range. Seeing blue whales outside of their Canadian feeding grounds is rare in the Atlantic, said Catherine McKenna, associate scientist in the aquarium's Anderson Cabot Center, who was aboard both survey flights. Finding them in two different areas of the ocean just 24 hours apart was a first for us. Blue whales are an endangered species, but little is known about the western North Atlantic population. It is thought that this population may consist of only 400 to 600 individuals. That's what I thought. I mean, that's about the population that I've heard of recently, except I might have heard it increase to about 400 to 700 is the estimate. They are best studied in their summer feeding grounds in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, Canada. Sightings outside of this area are relatively uncommon. The aquarium had sighted blue whales in New England waters just two other times before now. Once in the monument in 2020. Monument? It's a specific area. And once off the coast of Maine in the fall of 2023. Other research teams in the area have also sporadically sighted blue whales in New England. Oh, that's where it traveled. Wow. That was quick. Jeez. I mean, I know it's a blue whale, but still quite impressive. Oh, here are the canyons. Wow. That is much further out. I haven't really taken a look into underwater or ocean canyons. George's Bank.
I've heard this is people fish here.
Uh,
I think they talked about it in what was that movie?
Jaws.
No, no, no. The Perfect Storm,
Uh,
where the boat went down. Most of the story was made up because the boat sank. They were fishing. They were a commercial fishing thing.
I might have been confusing with that one where there was some monster on the ship eating people.
No.
Um, but yeah, wow. I mean, 170 miles, or was that pushing? Well over 300 kilometers. Okay, here seems to be. I was wondering. So it is. It says two blue whales and a fin whale in southern New England waters. So here's two blue whales. It's just a neighbor over here. Encountering blue whales spread out to cross the waters off southern New England likely means that oceanographic conditions are ripe for them to find food, said research scientist Orla O'Brien, who sighted the whales during the February 28th flight. Blue whales can range over huge swaths of the ocean unseen by scientists, so each sighting gives us an important glimpse into their winter and spring movements. The February 27th survey over Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument revealed some other exciting sightings, including two other species of endangered whales. In addition to the endangered blue whale, the aerial survey team spotted more than 300 animals, including three endangered fin whales, three endangered sperm whales, about 50 pilot whales, technically porpoises, and hundreds of dolphins. That's not very specific on the dolphins, but considering there's a wide variety of different species of dolphins.
Yeah, what is it? 100 dolphins? Is it 500 dolphins?
Well, that too, but are they common bottlenose dolphins? Because there's a wide range of different populations surrounding the whole United States, not including really Alaska. But spinner dolphins tend to be more located off the coast of South Africa and Namibia, so that's a bit of a ways. Um, a wide range of other species just not occurring to me at the moment. But I think that was a really good scenario with these with this specific fin whale showing up. From the distance, he looks sort of scarred, but it could be maybe just the water because that's what's showing here on the blue whale. And the blue whale, it's pretty much seems like a smooth sort of a coloration. So thanks for joining. And we're streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. And from Prehistoric to Present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Happy International Blue Whale Day. And remember that nothing is better